8 minutes before 8 right now. For the last dozen or so years, Chris Evert Lloyd has been one of the strongest and most consistent tennis players in the world. Quite simply, she is one of the best players ever. Her statistics are absolutely incredible. 15 Grand Slam titles, including 6 U.S. Opens, 3 Wimbledon championships, also the French and the Australian. She's won 92.5% of all her singles matches. Unbelievable. You just saw her last year on her way to beating Billie Jean King at Madison Square Garden. Right now, everything, however, is not quite perfect. She's ranked number 2 in the world, which does not make her terribly happy, behind Martina Navratilova, who's been playing awfully well for quite a while now. And she and her husband, John Lloyd, recently have started a trial separation. But Chris is Evert, hanging tough, playing tennis, and she's back at Madison Square Garden coming up this week for the Indoor World Championships. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good. Listen, when I just talk about Martina, I mean, it seems almost...
Do we have to?
No,
oh.
Well, okay, so... But how... Here she is playing this incredible string, the way you played this incredible string for so very long. What do you do? To try to become number 1 again? How do you go about it? You want it, first of all, right? Or do you? How bad? How bad?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Well, this is a new year, and every year, you just try to set goals for yourself. And this year, it's basically the Grand Slam tournaments. You know, the French is the first Grand Slam title, and also the Virginia Slims Championships coming up, which are being played at Madison Square Garden. That's a real big one in a few weeks. But Martina's played great, especially the last 2 years, and she's really dominated women's tennis. And it's up to us, you know, not only myself, but the Hanna Manlikovas and the Pam Shrivers and the Jaegers to really challenge her this year.
But how do you do that? You're going to play in this final, in this indoor tournament, 3 out of 5, which is what the men play. That's 3 out of 5 instead of 2 out of 5. That's a first, isn't it, for the women?
It's the
2 out of 3, excuse me.
It's the first time ever in the history of women's tennis that we've incorporated this into a tournament. And Virginia Slims actually was partly their idea and partly the women players' idea, because the last few Grand Slam tournaments that we've played, the finals have been under an hour.
Right.
So we're thinking, you know, we're kind of cheating the public, and so hopefully the matches will be longer, and it'll be good for both sides, the people and the players.
Finally, briefly, you and John separated. I just hope, and I know all of us do, hope that all this works out the best for you and John.
Thanks. I hope so, too.
Chris, good to see you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
This afternoon is Chris Evert, who is one of the greatest tennis players in history. She is now the 2nd-ranked woman in all the world, right behind Martina Navratilova. And coming up in a couple of weeks, she and Martina could easily wind up facing each other in the finals of the Virginia Slims tournament at Madison Square Garden. We've been watching you play tennis now for, it almost seems like since we were young and innocent and babies. And I wonder how the game has changed for you as you get older. You're not 19 years old anymore. Is it more difficult for you to play? And do you have to work harder to get yourself in shape now as opposed to 10 years ago?
Well, basically, I think I have to work harder, but not because I'm 29 years old and I'm getting old, but because there are so many more women tennis players now, and the caliber of play and the depth is much deeper. But I basically go out there and train just as hard, 2 or 3 hours a day practicing, and I think now the women are better athletes because they're going into weight training, and they're jumping rope, and they're doing other things besides just going out there and hitting balls.
When you weight train, do you do that with men or women coaches? Or both?
Both. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference. But I mean, I've just started that like 2 or 3 months ago for my upper body because I was a little bit weak there.
But could you feel, and I'm not trying to make you feel like an old woman at 29 years of age, for heaven's sake.
You won't make me feel that way.
But do you find yourself tightening up a little faster, getting sore a little quicker, losing any kind of stamina at all? Or,
no.
Or do you think about it at all?
No, I feel like I'm in better shape now than I was. But that could mean one of 2 things. That could mean I was in bad shape back when I was 17 or 18. But in the last 2 or 3 years, I've taken off 10 or 15 pounds, and I just feel much better out there. But you have to train every day. But if you look at history, Margaret Court, Billie Jean King, Yvonne Goolagong, they peaked in their late 20s, early 30s. So I think for a tennis player, that's the age.
This is prime time, right?
This is it, the next few years.
Now, in this tournament coming up in New York at the Garden, I believe February 28th through March 4th or 5th are the dates for the tournament, the women will play 3 out of 5 rather than 2 out of 3. I once heard somebody ask on a program, why do women play 2 out of 3? And I never heard the answer to it. You probably don't know.
Men always played 2 out of 3. I think it just changed with the men. I mean, it hasn't been like 100 years that men have played 3 out of 5 and women have played 2 out of 3. I think men started 3 out of 5 because they were physically stronger and they could, you know, stay out there longer, which is true. I mean, to think of a 3 out of 5 set match, I think the women have to be in better shape now than
Well, that's if it does go for the full
That's true.
8, right?
No, okay. 3 out of 5 sets?
Oh, exactly.
3
It
out
goes
of 5
the
sets.
full 5.
5 sets, yeah. But that's still, that could be a 4.5, 5-hour match versus a 3-set match, which usually is like a 2-hour match. So, you know, we're talking about a difference of staying out there for another 2 hours, which is very hard.
We have some videotape, I think, is this a year ago? Billie Jean King playing Chris Evert in the Virginia Slims. Why don't we roll that and take a look here? And let me ask you how you play different players differently. For example, when you play Billie Jean, how is your attack different from the way you might play Martina?
Well, with Billie Jean, I try to keep her in the backcourt because she's got a great volley, but what a great volley that girl just hit. I try to keep her in the baseline because her forehand is very vulnerable. I mean, I've played Billie Jean 35 times, and I know her game, and she knows my game. She's so quick at the net. Well, at that point she wasn't, but usually she is. But Billie Jean, of all the players I've played in my career, she's the best competitor by far of anybody I've played.
Billie Jean, really?
Yeah. If you were to put money on her in one match, she's the best. And she's 40 years old, and she's still...
Doesn't make her a bad person, you know.
No, I know, but she's still one of the top tennis players, and she doesn't smoke.
Speaking of that, and I know Virginia Slims might get a little bit edgy
I know,
here.
they might after that comment.
Do any of the tennis players smoke that you know of, women or men? Not that I'm going to say, see, he smokes in his...
Put me on the spot here. You know, maybe a couple of them for enjoyment, you know, have a puff here and there, but
oh, yeah?
Talking about Virginia Slims, I'm sorry I made that comment because if you're going to smoke, you might as well smoke Virginia Slims.
Well, I may have come a long way, baby, but I'm not going to endure the catcalls on the street with those in my phone. Although, you know, I know a guy, he loves Virginia Slims.
I love Virginia Slims because they put a lot of money and a lot of attention into women's tennis and women's sports, and they've been a great sponsor for us.
All right. Much success to you here in the upcoming tournament, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. All best to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chris Evert.
Major women's tennis tournaments are coming up in a couple of weeks, and of course, Chris Evert Lloyd will be competing in both. Besides her on-court performances, which are usually spectacular, she's seen here in last year's Virginia Slims semifinals against Billie Jean King. Ms. Lloyd also has other work. She's the president of the Women's Tennis Association, and Chris told me earlier today that the popularity of the women's game is coming on.
I was one of the very fortunate ones. The timing was very right for me. I came in at a time where most of the hard, dirty work was done, you know, and we have Billie Jean King to thank for that because she was the one, she was the spokesperson, the leader at that time, and she was the one that did the all-day press conferences, and, you know, they played in not-so-nice arenas, and she set the precedent for what is women's tennis today.
True, true, Chris. Chris will be competing in the U.S. Indoor Championships February 19th to 25th to the 25th in East Hanover, New Jersey. And then it's the Virginia Slims tournament at Madison Square Garden on the 28th. I'll have more of my chat with Chris Evert tomorrow on News 9 at noon. And that's what it is in sports. You got it.
We'll talk with Dabney Coleman, and Martina Navratilova is in town and will join us too. In 3 weeks, Martina Navratilova will get another chance to show why she is permanently in the pantheon of great female athletes. The Virginia Slims Championship at Madison Square Garden will award her $125,000 if she wins 3 out of 5. Get that, 3 out of 5 sets in the finals. And that's the largest purse ever offered to a woman tennis champion. Martina Navratilova, to our great pleasure. Remember that moment? I was there. I remember that. Joins us this morning. It's so good to see you. It really is. That prize money, $125,000. Give me a sense of what that says about the move toward equality between the prizes for men and women in tennis.
Well, it's the single largest first prize for a women's tournament, and you know, the largest so far has been $100,000, but it's been there for a couple of years, and now we moved up to another level, and I don't know what it means. I guess it means that we're right up there with the men. You know, men have more tournaments because they have more players, but on a week-to-week basis, I think the women hold their own pretty well.
And
from New York, where court space for most racket sports is only $27 an hour, it's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight, tennis champ Chris Evert Lloyd.
and they couldn't be having a better time. My first guest tonight is the #2 ranked women's tennis player in the world. She will be appearing at Madison Square Garden in the Virginia Slims tournament beginning February 28th, running through March the 4th. We are delighted that she could be with us tonight. Please welcome Chris Evert Lloyd.
Nice to see you. You sit right there? Or you can sit there.
How you doing?
Fine.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.
I've enjoyed you as a tennis player for many, many years, and I'm happy to finally get to meet you.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're number 2 ranked in the world. How does this is all done by computer, isn't it? Points and so on.
Yeah,
and so
the computer I think is wrong right now. No.
On the blink.
It's done by a computer, and Martina Navratilova is ranked #1, deservedly so, and I'm ranked #2.
Now, is it a burning ambition of yours when you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, geez, I have to be #1 again?
When I wake up in the morning, that's not the first thought that I have to admit.
What is the first thought when you wake up?
Well, let me just say that I get that thought when I'm practicing, you know, when I'm working 2 or 3 hours and when I'm sweating and I'm going through pain, and I think, you know, is this worth it? But it is. If you want to be #1, it's worth it.